Well, welcome back, everybody. I don't think we did a live in November. We did not.
No.
Time just got away from us. So we're back. It is the week before Christmas. Welcome back, everybody. And this will be not the last time we're going to be doing a live Q&A on the Tao of Horsemanship, but we're trying to get serious students who want to learn my method in this way of being and interacting and training over to our private community page. So keep that in mind, that in January, and we'll post, so we'll let everybody know ahead of time that we will be doing these live Q&A. And they can be a lot longer than an hour. If we have quite a few questions today, but I want to really engage the more committed students, whether you're a student of one of my online classes or courses or just my YouTube channel. So I will be more than happy to do a 2-hour Q&A every month. It doesn't have to just be an hour, but this week it's going to be an hour. And so you have me, your host, Caroline Beste, and you've got, and my screen to my left is Emily. She's to my right. There's her lovely husband, Jonas, behind us. We're at Emily's farm. You've got Lydia below me. Lovely Lydia. You guys know who Lydia is. She helps to co-host my podcast. And the woman in the dark. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, love. The woman in the dark is Becky.
Fun Friday.
So I guess we're having fun Friday. Here, cheers. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas. Cheers to everyone. God bless.
Coffee. And it's got,
Cheers, Lydia.
look what it says.
Let that shit go. I love it. That's a beautiful mug. Cheers, love.
A woman at my husband's nursery makes it, and I had her put it on there.
That's really pretty. I like that.
That's your
So that's
saying.
Becky. Becky's in the dark. Say hi, Becky.
Hi.
All right. So the cool thing, we all love it like this, the four of us, because it's me and 3 of my students who are more advanced than a lot of my students, just because they're more committed to the program. That's all. And perhaps talented and gifted and all those wonderful things that come along with doing a good job. It takes many things, but we like it because then we have different perspectives and different places where we're coming from and different horses to deal with. And so Emily is going to be checking for comments.
Absolutely.
Or questions, not just comments, questions. Lydia's taking the day off, so to speak, from handling all of that.
No, I'm going to help somebody find you right now.
Oh, thank you, love. Aw, yep. Thank you, babe. Okay. All right. Well, let's see what we can cover here in our short hour. We have a few more topics than what I listed earlier in the week. We have pressure and release, and this is going to be a video that I have in my live streaming from a podcast that Lydia and I did a few weeks ago, last month, pressure and release. So please take a look at the video on my YouTube channel if you want more information. But I had a specific question from one of our students that I want to address to the best of my ability. I did ask Joanne if she could email me back some specifics about this, because it's a really complicated, complex subject, pressure and release, and it should be. It should not be generalized like it is in so much of our training, from natural horsemanship to any type of horsemanship. I don't care if it's traditional, any discipline. It seems the mindset, and it can even be a mindset of positive reinforcement. It can become an operant conditioning. And operant conditioning is where you're looking for a positive and a negative reinforcement with the horse. You're teaching the horse what you want through operant conditioning, which is positive and negative reinforcement. So the big myth that I want to bust is you're not teaching the horse to think. And that's where I'm going with pressure and release. So most pressure and releases are all about 2 mindsets. And one is it's dominance force training, where we run the horse into submission and learned helplessness, and the horse learns how to submit, release, basically submit, give to you. They're not stupid by stopping what they're doing or, supposedly asking a question. And that's and you think you're teaching the horse through your release of pressure. And we'll dive into that a little bit. And you girls are here to ask questions too and take questions. And the second big dogma is, again, like I just said, a gentler form of training, and where it's just operant conditioning. You're teaching the horse literally through a conditioned response, or conditioning how to respond, and it's pressure and release. And so much of what we're taught is put pressure on until the horse either shows you what they want and then you release it, which is supposed to teach them. So we're going to dive into that. Or put the pressure on and either you release the pressure or the horse creates the release. In either situation, I'm going to see if I can articulate this well. In either situation, all you're teaching is the horse to figure out how to make you release the pressure. Does that make sense? That's all you're teaching. I don't care how you spin it. I've been doing this for a long time. I've studied from a lot of people, and I continue to learn, and I continue to study in an observant way what other people are doing, whether it's their videos, or that's really it, because I'm a student of the horse, but I don't have a horsemanship mentor at this time personally. So I'm not taking lessons or learning from someone else. And that's all I see out there is whatever pressure and release strategy you're using, and those aren't that complicated. It really comes down to operant conditioning, positive and negative reinforcement, and all you're teaching is the horse to submit or figure out the release. The key here is you're not teaching them to think. What are they really learning? And you're not teaching them to think. You're not developing their cognitive side of their brain, which needs development because it's not as developed as that's their left side like ours. It's not as developed as their right side, which is where they live in their self-preservation and their sensory aware and processing. So you're not teaching them to think, and you're not teaching them to problem solve. And so in my method of teaching people and horses is I'm looking to create brain games in everything you do. Many things in everything you do, but specifically we're constantly engaging the horse, and we want to teach them to have some healthy dependence as well as autonomy, and to start thinking for themselves. And it gets complicated because you can't use pressure and release to teach a horse to think. You can use pressure, which is what my video talks a lot about. You can use different types increments of pressure, and that's a whole feel and timing. And the feel and timing has everything to do with experience. How many different horses have you worked with, and different, amounts of pressure, and in different situations have you used pressure. But it's a real delicate process. And the key here is it's also when you use pressure and release, but pressure specifically in this way, in this context, it's akin to how the horses use pressure to control the herd members, to manage the herd, to develop the young. They're always using pressure. And what I've observed in my study, and this does take us to get outside the box, study of wild horses, healthy herd dynamics, as well as healthy domesticated herd dynamics. And then the way we function, our human brain, and the way it's designed, is we have such a linear approach to pressure and release. It's either all or nothing. There's this black and white. And when you watch horses, we, as humans, when we're observing that type of interaction where we think we see pressure and release, to me, it's really just pressure. Just because the horse releases the pressure, it isn't necessarily the release that teaches. It's the pressure in the form of a correction in the level or the amount of pressure applied as a correction to teach the young horses. So it's not really pressure and release. I don't think horses think about it, definitely don't think about it like that, but it's our interpretation. And it's become really abused and misunderstood. I don't go into rehabilitating a horse or developing a horse by using positive and negative reinforcement. I never have. It never felt right to me. And when I questioned it with my mentors at the time, and there were many different mentors from natural horsemanship to reining to classical dressage, to a more organic, well, the more organic was correct. But it never felt right, and they never had the right answers for me. And my horses, it didn't feel right. And so that's when I started to study wild horses and take it upon myself to just observe, spend a lot of time observing and connecting the dots. And connecting the dots means looking for patterns, like when they do this, what's the response that they're getting? And if they don't get the right response, they apply more pressure until the horse finds the right response. That has nothing to do with releasing pressure. It's knowing how much, and it's that whole wax on, wax off. It's that whole feel and timing of how much do I put on? Do I hold it for a little while, or do I take it away? If you watch my rehabilitation videos of either JJ or Mateo from last year, there's a few on my YouTube channel that are free. And I think I released one in November. But you spend a whole hour with me using various applications of pressure to connect and communicate and reconnect with Mateo and help him learn, not help him find a release. Release has nothing to do with it. It's him becoming more comfortable with pressure, and pressure being a way to connect and communicate like it is for horses. Like, no, that's not the right answer, or you need to become more comfortable with me putting easy, steady pressure on you just in the lunge to keep you moving forward. That's simple. Teaching you to keep moving forward and not freak out about it, not stop, not react, but this. So does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I was going to say it's
can they hear you though?
Can you guys hear me? I believe so.
Okay, because I know you turned your mic
Yeah,
off.
they should be able to hear me.
Okay. Yes.
I know, and the work we've done, we've talked about the importance of the dwell time and allowing that.
Dwell time and allowing.
That's one of the things I was thinking is a part of this is creating that dwell time for your horse to figure it out, creating that space so that they can continue to think through what you're asking of them.
And how would you create that dwell time? Because so often we get so caught up in doing, and we're goal oriented, obviously. Like, I want my horse to learn this, that we forget how they need to learn or what they need to learn.
Yeah, and so in slowing down, and we were working with Adanye.
Making dwell time too.
This morning, and there was a lot of our time we just spent being with him. We were working on the lunge, and a lot of it's relaxing and finding our rhythm and our consistency and our relaxation
in the lunge.
And I'm forgetting the other R at the moment.
So the consistency in my method, it's an umbrella. So the word consistency at the lunge has 3 words that create consistency, and those 3 words are, and they don't have to be in this order: rhythm, regulation, and relaxation.
Yes, I was forgetting.
And that creates a consistent tempo and a consistent understanding for the horse that he's supposed to stay on the rail, he's supposed to go one direction, he's supposed to go in one speed. And once you have that level of consistency, we start adding the other more mechanics, the biomechanics of developing the movement.
Absolutely. And what we had to do with Adanye, and some of it was more for me to find it, because as soon as Caroline would work with him, he would go right into that bigger walk and right on the rail, but was allow the time for Adanye to figure out what I was asking, for me to figure out what I was asking, and not getting too far ahead of ourselves. So that's a big part of, I think, the work as well. And when people think of traditional pressure and release, it doesn't allow for that.
It doesn't at all. It's a box. It's a box, and it's either one way or no way. It's like, okay, you see so many trainers where if the horse doesn't do what they want, then they push him into this. It's like trailer loading. I was taught that if your horse, I wasn't taught anything, and I was taught like the natural horsemanship of the time was okay, your horse, and they did this to my horse at a clinic with a professional in natural horsemanship, and we spent 2.5 hours. And I kept telling the clinician to stop. My horse is drenched in sweat. You're running him. It's not working. I had no skills in trailer loading. It took us 2.5 hours to get him there. And then we couldn't get him to go home, Smokey.
Yeah.
So you don't just put pressure on him until what's the saying? Make the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult. So you put pressure on him thinking, well, I'll teach him. You hear this all the time. That'll teach him. So keep putting the pressure on, work him outside the trailer and offer the trailer as his release. I was taught that.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as Smokey, there was no way. So it took like 2.5 hours before he would finally get halfway up that ramp to where his shoulders were inside the trailer. And that was it. And that's when I just said, that's enough. I walked him away and I finally hand walked him right on and we just closed him up. There was no self-loading. You can't teach self-loading. He wasn't in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
And so you're only going to create learned helplessness. You're through submission. Eventually, I mean, Smokey was so traumatized and reactive at that age. Look how long it took him. And he never did load, really. Yeah. So there are those extreme cases. I've certainly worked with plenty of them with my students. But for the majority of people that don't have those extreme cases and your horse isn't going to act that extreme, you're just creating a conditioned response. You're not creating a thinking horse. And this is the whole foundation to my method, that in the relationship, so that you can have safety with your horse in any situation. They got to be able to think and process and problem solve, and they have to be able to trust you. So I don't want to spend too much more time on this. It's a deep subject. We have a lot of topics to cover. I don't know if that helps. Anybody have any comments or questions?
No comments or questions so far.
Because I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while if you guys are serious about developing your horse and wanting to work through trauma and trust and developing confidence. You cannot keep using pressure and release the way you're being taught, because you're dumbing your horse down. It's a quick fix, you guys. It's just a quick fix. You're not teaching them anything.
Absolutely.
And especially with positive, with what do they call it? Positive reinforcement training.
The treat training.
Treat training, clicker training, target training, it all dumbs it down. But more specifically, there's a lot of, I see it in my news feeds. So I'm a lot of this positive reinforcement training that they use in zoos where there's no negative reinforcement at all, especially with developing behavior with wild animals in the zoo. There's no negative. That's the beauty of how they use it. And I don't want to get into that technique specifically, but it's true. It's just treat. It's a food. It's, they're using food to motivate
behavior.
Yeah, behavior to start with, that the animal, associates something positive with the human and food so that they can do what they need to do. But in the horse world, I think because their flight mechanism, horses are so reactive, we've gotten away from all positive and allowing the horse to choose when to come and to choose their learning. We've totally gotten away from that, and we've gotten into this pressure release, and it goes back to the old saying, make the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult. And I disagree. There is that 1%, and I don't even want to say it like that, in trauma, where you just have to learn how to hold the space and create the space and help the horse work through. But it's still not about positive and negative. So that's where I wanted to go. And so much of feel and timing has to go into it.
Yeah.
And like Emily was saying, part of that feel and timing is knowing when enough is enough in that moment for your horse. And you being the leader, deciding that, not just going and going and going and getting so linear, stuck that you forget that the horse needs time to process all of this. And what are you trying to teach them little by little? That what is straight, what is tracking or tracking to the left. What does that look like when you're teaching them? Instead of making it happen, teach them that level of connection and responsibility as a partner to participate with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's huge, you guys. There isn't, when I developed my method, I say this often in my work, it's a tough roadmap. It's a tough curriculum, but there are so many things happening at once. It's an organic process. It's a very natural process if you do it correctly, a subconscious process for you and your horse in a healthy way because of the chakra work. But it's, as I always say, it's like you're killing, two birds or a flock of birds with one stone. You have one lesson, and the lesson is identifying and developing, many things at once. That is the proof of the work, the magic of the work. So I had a quick comment from one of my students in my video library, and it has to do with fear of riding in the library part 2, overcoming fear and feeling safe with your horse. And I just wanted to include this under pressure and release. And she brought up the comment that thank you for this video explaining more amicable steps to take with your horse. I've experienced situations where a more experienced and seasoned rider told me to ride on and then trot to occupy my horse's mind against better judgment. And I also heard to circle my horse to bring his wandering mind back to me. And again, this is just old, dogma that still exists. It's very used often. Move their feet to get their mind. I've been there, and it escalates. It escalates, and we want to quiet the mind, and it's harder to quiet the mind. I know that, but when the mind is quiet, it trusts you. The hardest work is done, and when the mind is quiet, it's clear for both you and your horse, and connected. And so often, if you're not a confident rider, and I am, that's why I do what I do, but I don't recommend what I do in more, and I don't ride crazy horses, so I'm not going to be doing something that I wouldn't train my students. The point I'm making is circling works when you can have a healthy enough level of connection with your horse that you can easily circle them down or spiral them down or bend them to a lower speed, not necessarily a stop. But too often, the minute we put that rein pressure around their mouth or their face, which is their flight zone, it triggers the horse to go even faster and push even harder through our contact. And so the proper foundation or preliminary work preparation isn't there, meaning, in one of my videos with Zor that's really popular, my big 18-hand sport horse, and I'm I can't show you a situation, and I don't in that video, where he gets scared and bolts, which he used to do all the time, but I show you how I bring him up into a big canter, and I can sit back. He knows the sit, he knows the halt, pull my rein up, slide my hand down, and shut the door, which is right on his face, which is the halter. That's his bitless bridle. And he knows to respect that. He knows what that means through my body, through the sit, through the halt, stop, and back up. So that's that proper preparation that's so important. You've got to prepare your horse, and it takes education, learning how to prepare them so that when shit hits the fan, your horse can easily reconnect, and then spiraling them down, circling them, and bending them to a stop is safe if you have to do that. But so often, you guys are being taught to, your horse picks up at a canter and you're scared, put him in a circle and wind your circle down, and you're tight and you're panicking, and now you've got to worry about your balance, and your horse is tight and they're not balanced, and it's just a cluster. How many of you guys have fallen? It's an accident, because you're going to lose your balance, your horse starts bucking, or gets even more scared because you're unbalanced, which is unbalancing them. So they don't have that foundation to handle your shit, so it doesn't work. And often, again, as soon as you pull on that face, they're like pushing right through that contact because they don't trust you. That's a horse's flight zone. I never hear professionals today talk about that. They don't.
Turn your horse, turn your hearse.
Yeah, they don't talk about the
No.
fact that this is their flight. That's why horses are so pushy. You know, they want to push right through when they're scared. It makes sense. So I wrote back and I said, circling does work, but only if the horse is more advanced and trusts you reining them in. If not, it can easily escalate the situation because the horse feels trapped by the contact and force of pulling their head and eye around. So they can't see anymore either. So that's why they tend to speed up and fight the pull. They're already on heightened sensory and self-preservation. Now their rider's asking them to give their eyes to them. So in the end, the front of the horse, specifically their head, is responsible for their ability to flee. If we take this away too soon before they trust us and reconnect with us, we're going to poke the dragon. We're going to really stir the pot. So proper preparation is the best. And practicing developing self-regulation in your horse, emotional agility, and then you test it by doing serpentines, spiraling down, working on your bend to a stop. Those should all be tests. They shouldn't be the lesson. You got to get to that point.
Emergency go-to.
Yeah.
You should already have things in place so that when you find yourself in that situation, that's one of the reasons I don't ride a damier. We're not going char, and we're not doing these things because we need to both be in a position and ready.
Self-regulation.
And that self-regulation.
And
so if we're out on a trail and something happens, we both can handle it.
Yes.
I don't escalate him, which I can do very easily, and he doesn't escalate me. So if he's struggling, I can contain myself to be able to help him, and he trusts me enough to handle it. But if I can tell you now, if I'm riding him and I just yank him around,
he fights it.
He's going to fight it.
And he's tight, and he can spin around and throw you right off your balance point.
And if especially because I ride him bareback, my balance is going to go, and I can amplify it. And now I've taken my training and everything we've done, and I've gone 20 steps backwards because he's not.
And it's hard. I mean, real quick, relate to everybody how hard you want to ride.
I do.
You so want to ride right now.
I do. I want to ride him so bad. I had a total meltdown with my husband over it the other day, and he just listened to me cry about it because it is frustrating. It is hard when you see everybody else out there doing these things and riding.
But they're also riding the way we're talking about and putting up with that. And they have bits and they're yanking their horses and they're hurting their horses. And that's, it's pain. It's not okay. It's not okay.
I come back and the relationship I have, and that with a damier, we're building that trust. So it's not me wanting to ride, it's us. It's so going slow, as hard as it is, as bad as I want it, we're creating it and creating that foundation, so we both want to do it, and it's enjoyable. And I don't have to yank on his face. I'm not going to have to do all these things.
My question, and this is an aha. How many of you who are out there, and there's a lot of you riding and not worrying, and this is mostly younger generation, because as we get older, we just know more, and we're not going to take those chances. No. How many of you would take your bridles and your bits out of your horse and go for a trail ride in a soft rope halter and a lead rope? So for all the brazen people out there that don't get this or might be questioning this, like, oh, you guys, you're making it too hard, or, you're setting expectations so high, and why do you need that? Just get on and ride. Because believe me, my students hear this all the time. Okay, hot shots, go in a bareback pad, like us, and go in a soft rope halter with the lead rope tied like a hackamore. And will your horse even listen to you? Can you bend them without a bit in their mouth? Can you ride them without the safety of stirrups and a saddle to hang on to? Which even then, if they spin around and that saddle's not on right, that saddle's going to go, and so are you. So I don't want to be like that. I don't want to have to work through that and ride like that. I want oneness. I want my horse to care about me and to take care of me. And I want that dream ride, which I have had, where I can ride by myself anywhere or in a group and have that horse like my dog. Okay. And it is achievable. And that's what we are taking our time to do. And it is worth it. And it is so worth it. and I'm not saying that everybody needs to ride in a bareback pad too, because I know a lot of us have balance issues. And the withers, horse, the whole 9 yards. So it's not a big deal about the saddle. But
I think the point is taking the time to build the foundation with your horse.
And not cut corners.
Don't cut corners, which I love to cut corners naturally, because
you feel the pressure like a lot of people.
And I want to do these things.
You put it on yourself too.
But
yeah,
when you don't cut the corners, don't take the shortcuts, and build the relationship and connection you have with your horse, you actually get there a lot further. I've been sick the last 4 weeks since Caroline and I worked last time. So I haven't had a Donnie in the round pen. I haven't done certain things. And
this is the best you've ever been.
A night and day, we both are, because I allow him to process it.
But you've been practicing on yourself and the energy and breathing and your chakra system in the last month. So you've done your work, which is more on you and not him. And he yawned about 50 times today. I mean, he was on it. He was present.
Yep.
He was there. He was not reactive. He was a mess a month ago.
He was. Yep.
And all you've done is work on you, and it changed everything.
It does. And that's what I'm trying to relate to everybody, because I know what it's like, and I know Becky does, and I know Lydia does, and Caroline does, that if you go slow, you really are going faster. If you do this, you are going faster.
What do we say, Lydia? Go slow and get more? What's that? Go slow and do less and get more.
Stay longer.
Stay longer.
There we go.
I don't know. Scramble.
But it just does. And so that's, I think, the beauty. And if people could take
trust the process.
Trust it. Develop that relationship and connection with your horse.
It's so worth it.
Because you'll get there much further than you expect, versus using tools and aids that really are just forcing your horse to submit or putting them into this position that they're not ready for.
And they're just holding their shit together. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. Thank you. You're guys. Welcome. Okay, so that leads us to the next question that is new. And we don't have any questions from anybody.
No.
So, okay. The next question or topic was, and I put this up there, holding space for you and your horse, or you or your horse. And what do I mean by that? And this has come up often with my students, and it should, because this is a work in progress. Like so much of personal development is, as it should be for all of us. You're never done learning. And you're never done with your horse either. That's a beauty in any relationship. Yeah. You're always learning and growing, hopefully, right? Sometimes more than others. So holding the space for your horse. Before I talk about this, you actually experienced it for the first time this past week.
I did.
And you didn't know it, and you texted me briefly about what it was, and then I came back and I said, well, this is what's going on.
That's what it's supposed to be.
But explain what happened to you.
So I went out to just be with Adonye because, like I said, I've been sick, was just in a funk and needed to be with him. So went out and was just hanging out with him, and then decided to just stand on the bucket, because the desire to ride was just so there. So I decided to, let me stand on the bucket and just be with him there, and I was leaning on him while he ate. And then,
so what do you mean by standing on the bucket?
So I had a muck bucket, and I just flipped it upside down and put it beside him and stood on top of it. So, because I'm short and he's 16 too, so I could lean on him. It was just hanging over him, rubbing on him while he ate his cubes, and then decided to move that out a little bit further to see if he would come to me
and pick you up
and pick me up and
because
be with
you struggle with the riding right now, as far as his confidence and his ability to come and connect with her. And in my method, the horse has to give you permission to ride. It's got to be their choice. And you develop all of these things so that it just organically happens, because the relationship is so amazing, the connection, the trust, the conversation, the ability to talk. And Adonye is not ready to come side pass up to you and just give and be relaxed. He's still looking at you, kicking the butt out, or he's not ready.
He's not ready for that. And so
you're playing with it.
Yeah, playing with it and so I went out into kind of they have a sandy area in their pasture in front of their run-in, put the muck bucket back upside down, stood on it. 'Cause I'm like, well, here's another step in that. Will he come to me when I'm on something? And he did. I asked him to come from
He left his food.
Yep, he left his precious cubes.
I love it.
And came to me.
That's huge.
And so then I just spent, I don't even know how long.
I mean, that's not his hay, that's his feed. We
Yeah.
feed organic, not organic, but we don't, we feed either alfalfa or Timothy. Yeah, pellets or cubes. We're off grain completely, off that sugar. So he left his feed for you. His feed, not his hay.
He did. He came over.
It's amazing.
And I really just focused on asking him, like, hey, I want your feet here. And he did. Like, he came right up and would stand there. And we had to work through different things because he'd get bored and would turn, but he would stay with me. And I just at one point found myself completely grounded in my first and second chakras, and it was so intimate. It was so incredibly, I don't even know how to describe it. It's such an intimate
But you said to me, Caroline, this is what you mean when you say it's like making love with your partner. You know, I always talk when my writing is one, is eyes
more elegantly than me.
Eyes closed. Like I want to be able to, and I do, especially back at the ranch when we had all the hundreds of acres. I want to be able to close my eyes, not even hold the rein, and ride my horse on a trail ride. And I want to do that at a walk. I want to pick up the rein and have a lope, and I want to come back down in my mind and my body and have my horse right there with me as one. And to have that movement and connection, and it's the joining of the mind, the heart, and the body, the movement, you felt that magnetic pull that I always talk about when the three are aligned, the congruency of the mind, the heart, and the body with your horse. The connection is so strong, and you feel that. He feels it in you, and you can't be there unless you're in your first and second chakras.
And for me, someone who has a history of trauma, that's been really hard. So it is
for anyone who's been traumatized.
And to get to it was a whole other level, and my hands were tingling. I ended up just like this. I don't know if you guys can see my hands, but just standing like this and holding it. And my hands are getting hot now talking about it. And he stayed right there. And my mare, Amora, kept trying to come up, and Adani didn't want to share the space, and so I honored that and was able to ask her to stay back, and she did. And also promised him she wasn't going to eat his food because she'll eat everybody's food. So just holding that.
We all have one of those. Or two.
And he just, he would put his face right near my face, and I would kiss on it. Like, it was just such an incredible
You were so in the moment.
And so there.
That's what making love does. When you're in love with someone, kissing, anything intimate where your hearts are joined, your total focus is on them, and then your bodies are joined, you lose all sight of time and space, right?
And he eventually,
it feels so good.
I got off the bucket and I stood, and he stayed with me, and he didn't leave me until I was like, go ahead and go back to your food. Because we'd sort of gone through this, and I mean, I could be there all night, just like, we'll just stand here together all night. But I also want to honor him and what he wants.
Dinner or whatever.
Because he was, he wanted to go eat, and he chose to partner with me. He chose that. And so I let him, I looked and basically told him to go, and he went and had his dinner, and then I went over to Amora and made sure I gave her love. So she knew it wasn't that I don't want her, but just like if there's moments I have with her, I'm going to honor that. I'm doing the same here. But it was such an emotional, mental, I hate to say physical because makes it sound weird in this context, but it was. And to have that connection with my horse, who, yes, like I said, I'm not.
It's not weird. Remember, we're comparing it, but we're not taking it there.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So we're comparing it in the way, that
intimacy means many things.
It does. Emotional intimacy. Yes, Becky, thank you.
Yeah.
Go. Keep talking.
That's what I said.
Becky is a woman of few words.
Where's that light? I know. Where's that light I want to shine on you? That was so awful. I'm trying with my camera. I like this.
But it just, and that's what I want everybody to experience. And with this approach, you can get there.
And you'll get it all the time if you
Yes.
practice it, and you can tap into this and practice, then it happens all the time. You know, my relationship with my horses doesn't keep growing and developing because we work together. Y'all know I haven't worked with my horses in years. I mean, sure, I've done videos, but that's okay, Lovey. Here's once a week for an hour or two, and it's a one-time take. Because it's nothing, we already know that foundation's there. I need to get back and further develop them and challenge us. But the point is we keep growing. I was telling the girls, and next week I'm going to put my scans of my chiropractic visit for the first time in 30 years. And I only had one other chiropractic visit in my 20s. But other than that, so I finally went back because I had my second appointment yesterday. It's been amazing, but I haven't wanted to ride until I get fixed. And so I'm going to share that with you guys next week. But the point I'm making is Lovey keeps asking. And Lovey's not the horse to nicker to me, except when we're working and we have a routine every day. And then she's really excited. And then it's, ooh. But she's been nickering to me multiple times throughout the day because we just keep growing. There's so much you can do.
Yeah.
And we all need work on intimacy. I need work on intimacy. It is a constant, you're only ready for what you're ready for. But I'm a constant work in progress, and there's nothing wrong with that. So there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
Definitely in all of our relationships. So the holding the space that I brought up, like Emily wasn't aware that it was her first and second chakra. Not in that text, you weren't aware. It might have come to you. You were so excited sharing that, and I'm like, that's because you were in your first and second chakra.
Yeah.
Your heart can want it all at once, but if you don't open yourself, it's like the podcast I had with Chris and Lydia, Chris Newkirk Wednesday, and it's on my YouTube channel under the live streaming. The whole chakra work. You have to learn how to open yourself up through your chakras in order to allow and channel whatever you want to channel, energy for one. And that's what we're doing in this work of mine. But when you start to open the chakras the way that I'm teaching you, it opens Pandora's box of possibilities in every area of your life. You just have to keep opening because we have so many layers of debris and trauma and trapped emotions. We all do. We all have stuff. So holding the space is when you can connect with how that felt, and you're like, oh, we got lost in space and time, my horse and I, and everything slowed down, and we were so connected, and it felt so good for he and I, and it brought us so close. Well, sure, you can want it all you want, but it has to open up into the first chakra where that is your stability, your sense of security. That's your first foundation. If you don't have that open, nothing else is going to move. And so then the second is responsible, your water chakra, for relationship. It's responsible for many things, but we're talking about intimacy and relationship with another. So, and that's where we carry babies. It's our womb, it's creativity, it's sensuality, it's your pelvis when you ride. So if we're locked up in the second chakra, we're not going to be able to flow when we ride because we can't allow energy or movement to come through us. But we got to feel safe first, and safety comes with the first chakra. So in safety, in your situation, in anyone's situation that feels and experiences what you did, safety isn't, oh, I feel safe in the black and white context of, oh, I feel safe around my horse.
Yeah.
Or it's safety being vulnerable, being honest, allowing that moment to happen, knowing that it may not happen.
Yeah.
That it could have gone wrong, but you didn't put pressure on yourself. You didn't have expectations. No. You came at that potential experience with an open heart and an openness that allowed it to happen naturally.
Very organic.
It was very organic. Yeah. It's beautiful. Now that's what I talk about. We need to create that space for ourselves. We need to know what it feels like to give it to someone else. And that's the beauty of working with horses, because they're so honest and they're another sentient being. And if it ain't working in us, we can't make it happen in my work. I don't want you to make it happen. I don't want you to force it to happen.
Say, the horses don't let you make it happen.
Yeah, no.
They will let you know that.
That's
no.
the consensual part, the choice. All right, are we good with
I
any?
want to say something.
Yes, yes.
I want to say something about that because I think Emily being shut down for about 3 weeks, not really working a whole bunch and all that, maybe, quieted this crazy shit down, because I just had 3 days of shutdown. Went and sat on a log with Cochise and Prophet. And I asked Cochise to lie down, and he did. So I have gone to him, and when he's lying down, and touched him and, loved on him and stuff like that. But I've never asked him to lay down. And then Prophet left to go lay down under the loafing chair. And it was funny because Cochise was trying to make up his mind who he should stay with. Should I stay with Mama, or should I go and then he kept falling asleep, and then he'd wake up and he'd be like, should I? So he stayed with me for about 20 minutes, and then he got up and went over to Prophet to see how he was doing. So it was fun, even while he was sleeping, trying to make a decision about what he wanted to do.
Yeah, beautiful.
Aww.
Congratulations.
That's amazing.
That's powerful. And it's not a trick. We don't train our horses to lie down. We don't force their legs up or down or bend them. It's an organic process. And then it can become a conditioned response, but only through habituation, not through pressure in release. Habituation, you just keep making it a habit. Like I did with Brandy, pat on my legs, and all of a sudden he's laying down and the head's on my lap. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Thank you. That's beautiful. Yay. Oh my God, I love it. All right, let me see what we got next. I may not get to everything. I know that I want to get to June's, one of our students, next, and then I'll get to Victoria. Yeah, good. Yay. All right. So June, I asked you if you could come back to me with something more specific about the lunge. And let me find it. Hold on. Here we go. Because June is a student, and she there's a lot of lunging in my mastery membership program, and different styles of lunging and different levels of lunging. And so we have the close lunge, which is at liberty, free, and it's really designed for a lot of feedback and information in the very beginning of my program. And I think this will help June understand the foundation of the lunge. And then we're constantly testing the freedom of that lunge when we're asking the horse to stay close to us, because we're developing the connection and engagement and embodiment of our chakras and energy, and synchronizing and aligning that with another sentient being like our horse, and connecting those energies. But then we're also carrying that into the straight lunge. And the straight lunge, sometimes horses can't get close and stay close, so we go into the straight lunge. And I like to use either a large round pen, so the horse can go learn straightness and create strength and balance, which will create collection and elasticity in the movement. But often our horses are wrecked in the round pen, so we have to put them on line. And then we just have to make sure that we understand how to do a 50 diameter circle out in the open. Some people don't have round pens, especially in Europe. A lot of my clients in Europe can't afford them because it's so expensive to ship stuff in, you guys. They get taxed on everything.
So they don't have round pens they can buy in Europe typically?
You got it's the same round pen, but you got to have a lot of money.
Oh,
it's like it's double the price. Europe is very different. Okay, it's very oppressive in many ways.
Yeah.
And so you can build round pens though, and you can make them. But anyway, buying them is really difficult. So the point I'm making is, if you don't have a round pen, or your horse isn't able to stay connected, which means they're self-regulated and they trust you, freely in a round pen, then put them on line. And I only use a 12-foot line, in a soft rope halter because you're in a long lunge whip because you're going to learn how to walk a 50-meter circle and keep your horse straight on that. So you don't need a big lunge whip. You're not standing in the middle. You're moving with them. There's a whole practice to this. And so that's another style. And then we keep tweaking and improving both the close liberty so that we can get the horse to the point where they can have a collected canter and a closed circle, but they have to be collected, meaning we don't want our horse trotting or cantering around us in a close circle until they can pick up a collected canter on the straight lunge till we know that they can go straight and they have the balance and the strength to pick it up. And we test it with the closeness. And so one of the questions from one of the students, well, this is June. Hi, I get confused. I'm in the 5th module where you introduce a straight lunge, but in the newer lunging videos, you say that the close lunge comes before the straight lunge. So if you go back to course number 1 in the Mastery Membership Program, we start with discovering the spirituality of horsemanship. So we're discovering our chakra system and how to connect and engage our chakra systems, our energy, to connect with another energetic being, our horse. And so we are working freely in a paddock, stall, or in a round pen. And when your horse feels calm in that small space and safe and is relaxed, then they're going to connect to you. So if they can connect to you and you can connect to your energy sources, it's easy, meaning they'll want to stay close. And so really, we start this in the very beginning in baby steps to develop that level of connection to our own energy and with another so that we can align and synchronize it. Often it doesn't work because horses are damaged, or it's really tough for us because we have a lot of trauma and trapped emotions. And just like a riverbed, like I explained in the program, it's tough to clear all that. So let's get moving. So the point of all my lunging styles and formats is to give opportunities for you to work in either one, but slowly. I don't want anybody working with speed until the horse can balance themselves and collect themselves at that speed. And again, so often our horses are run on the lunge, so they don't know how to self-regulate or control speed. And so June wanted me to offer some clarity, and she found a couple of the same questions, Q&A, in the open forum over the last couple of years. And one of the students had a similar question that they weren't sure which one to do, the straight lunge or the close lunge. And I just kept saying it really all depends, is what I'm explaining right now, and what your horse can handle.
Well, when I first started,
Yes.
one of the things you would tell me, and obviously Lydia and Becky, I'm not sure if they had the same experience, but with a Danye and a Mora, I had to focus on building trust and relationship. And so one of the things you would tell me is if they want to be close right now, to let them.
Yes.
So when I was working on lunging them, if trying to have them out, whether online or at Liberty, in the straight lunge was too much because I was building the basics of that.
So this is where it gets complex. This is why it is an art. And again, it comes back to feel and timing. There is, when you're learning and learning about your horse, as well as learning what your horse needs is key. And then learning yourself as a student how to connect and communicate with them this way. It's a lot because you're learning your horse. And your horse is an individual by nature. They come with their own personality and traits, inherent traits, but they do have basic needs and basic instincts. And then they do have their own personal needs based upon their nature and their nurture, what they've experienced. So you can't we're just not going at it if dogmatically is the right word, or linearly. It's not like, okay, we're going to do the close lunge because it's in the first course and these are the first, building blocks.
Yeah.
If that's not working, and that's why I have the problem solving course, and then we have the other stuff explained, then you need to jump around a little bit to figure out where you can be, but you're not losing the core principles, which are we're looking for relaxation, we're looking for rhythm, we're looking for regulation. Can can our horse go in and out of learning and be
Yep.
connected to us and be relaxed? And if they can't, then we've got to help them work through.
Yeah.
So it does get complicated.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. And you guys are all learning how to train yourself
Yeah.
and train your horse. So it's not like a professional at my level coming in and going, I know exactly what this horse is telling me. I'm listening. I know exactly what they're
Yep.
telling me. So I know where to meet them.
Yep.
I know where to meet them. I'm trying to give you as much, and it's my apprenticeship program. So I'm giving you as many strategies and the building blocks to figure out how to meet them where they're at. So hold on for 1 second, Lydia. So while I wish you could all start just the way I have it outlined in my curriculum, a lot of you can't. And you've got to be able to jump and go to this lunging or this particular spot. But jumping doesn't mean speed. And you're still looking for the same things no matter what lunging style you're doing.
Yeah.
You're still looking for the same relaxation, safety, connection, communication, connection to the embodiment of the energy.
Yeah.
Yes, Lydia.
As a student, I felt like I really needed to learn all 3 lunging styles very well in order to know which one I needed to use when with which horse. Like Cochise being a Mustang, I could not just go into the round pen at Liberty at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
yeah, it took us 2 years to work online and to sit in there, and I have grass in there, so there was a lot of grazing and just sitting for him to change that for himself. And then remember, I told you guys the 4th of July, that's where he felt the most comfortable when the fireworks were going off.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
Clint was
now,
the same way.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
he wanted to go in the round pen to feel safe from the fireworks. I love it. Yeah.
right.
Becky
So
too.
the straightness stuff came as a result of just being online and getting the self-regulation online for him. And then it was at Liberty. Now it's coming pretty easily. Yeah,
Yes.
but I
The
have
hardest
to,
part. You've done the hardest part.
I really had to seek, I had to really dive into learning all 3 of them through the course so that I knew how to access it in myself intuitively. Does that make sense? Intuitively.
Yes. Yes, it does. And you've got all of those, what do we want to call my work? You've got the building blocks, but you have all those different
Solving.
tools. Thank you. Yeah, the different lunging styles and tools to figure out where you need to meet your horse and then bring him along or her along. Here's June's question exactly. When working on the close lunge for connection, I worry about too much bend. So the close lunge is about, if you go back to the videos, it is about the horse kind of being a banana, June, and arced around you, because they're learning how to cross that inside hind leg underneath and stretch it and lift the shoulder if they're not leaning. They really can't, if they're leaning and dropping a shoulder, I mean, this is all about training your eye, then that's not good. Then they might be too close and you have to push them out to straighten them out. So there's a lot more involved, and that's why I made 20 some extra videos last year. I think it was The Art of Lunging Explained, because there were some additional questions that most of you that you were all having, as a group, like, hey, wait a minute, I get the building blocks, but this keeps coming up, or what do we do about this? So I explained it more and gave you guys more of a big picture, so you didn't get caught up in all the little building blocks. So go back to The Art of Lunging Explained, because it's such an ebb and flow. There, you want the closeness, but you don't want it where they're leaning in or dropping a shoulder. You want it so that you've got to train your eye so that they're lifting the shoulder in and crossing underneath with their hind, so that they are creating that strength through the hind end and the balance necessary to capture the weight. I talk a lot about that. June states, since classical training is about straightness, not necessarily. Straightness is the beginning. It is, don't get me wrong, but it's not just about straightness. Straightness is the beginning to creating strength and balance, which creates self-carriage, which naturally creates collection. So straightness is one of the first building blocks, but it's not the end result. Not to me, the horse has to learn how to go straight, and you have to stretch them in order for the rest of, the self-carriage and the balance and the collection to work. And a horse also can't go straight if they're not balanced, strong, and collected. So I don't want to but it's kind of like, okay, my horse can't go straight. He keeps falling in. He keeps speeding up. He's all over the place. You know how many of our horses are crooked or they're tripping? All the above.
We talked about that this morning with our lesson
You
of
got
the
a tool
dog.
for all that.
What, hun?
You have tools for all that.
Yeah. I just want to make it clear, that classical training, be careful, because I just said it is straightness. Is your horse straight? Can they go straight? Can they canter straight on a circle without falling in or being inverted or, throwing the rib cage into the direction? Eventually in the upper levels, and I don't know so much about reining because I have a lot of experience with that too. And the program pulls some reining in as well, especially the one-handed. You can't do the one-handed till the horse is balanced and collected. But the idea is that your horse can go straight on a circle, and that in classical training, they also need to bend in the direction of movement. So I hope that helped, June. Would love your input about the biomechanics of the close lunge. That's really going to take a coaching session. It's very complicated. As you can see, lunging is an art, and it really takes time to develop your eye. That's why I've done so many Q&A webinars that we have recorded about the lunge and training your eye and understanding what's healthy biomechanics, what isn't, and then you have all the tools you need in my program to develop healthy biomechanics. I'm not familiar with Jillian Crine brings functional anatomy online course. June is so much to learn, experienced, yes, and having a trained eye. Yes, it does take time, and sometimes it takes in-person experience. Because even if we have a coaching call and you're showing me a video of your horse, and even if I show you, which does help, a video of my horse, and that's something that I wanted to discuss too, is I've been talking about this for years now when I first launched the big program, but I am going to be offering a monthly group coaching for all of my online students. So you guys can sign up for a monthly fee instead of paying, a single fee for an hour or half an hour. But you all, we're not going to be able to, I can't give you each unlimited time in this monthly coaching, but this could be an opportunity for June, you to join. Hopefully it'll launch in January, and you can give me a video, and that's where I'd love to do a compare and contrast. So here's a healthy biomechanics. Where is your horse right now? Let's see and compare. So that's training. We've done some of that in the old Q&A that are recorded, though. I did take time. So look at the table of contents, June, in the webinar. There's a table of contents. Lydia did an amazing job pulling that together for 2020 and 2021. Thank you. That was huge, Lydia. Thank you. So please look at those. And I think that's wrapping us up. We didn't get to starting young horses. I'm sorry, Victoria. We will definitely add that it'll be the first thing that I talk about in January. Please join. We are going to be switching to the Tao of Horsemanship private community page. Yeah. So I will get into, I'd love to, because the month of January is going to be all about starting young horses. No, wait, I did that this month. That's this month. It's about behavior. It's about understanding horses and working through problems.
That kind of goes
hand
in hand.
So that does go hand in hand.
When you think about it,
it all goes, it's all connected. So yeah, January is going to be about behavior, and then we're going to be, Victoria, I will definitely bring up starting young horses. Please stay tuned for that and join the community page. If you haven't, we're going to talk about breaking at the third vertebrae and about flexion and suppling in January. And that's going to be huge. And whatever else I can pull in, and whatever questions you all have. All right, that wraps it up.
Jonas has a very important question.
Yes,
for you.
Jonas, yes.
He would like to know what your favorite Christmas activity to do with your horses is.
Oh, I love it. Well, it depends on where I'm at. I have one video. Thank you, Jonas. What's my favorite Christmas activity with my horses? There's many. When we were in Pennsylvania, my two apprentices, Erica and Chelsea, and I, there's a video on my YouTube where it's a lot of snow that year, and I'm pulling Chelsea and Erica in a sled, and I have the rope around my waist, so I'm riding Legend bareback, and then I'm riding Smoky bareback. You guys got to find it on my YouTube channel. And our dogs are running after us. My two labs and her brindle mastiff.
Probably.
Odin, he's huge.
Great Dane.
No. Mastiff. Yeah,
Mastiff?
no, he was a brindle mastiff, not a Great Dane, but he's huge. I think he's 13 this year.
Aww.
If Chelsea's listening, yeah, Odin. So he was a puppy. Chelsea's mom and I bought him.
Thursday video.
Yeah, that would be a good throwback Thursday for Christmas. It should, but we're laughing so hard. And then the horses, they all have blankets on. So they're coming, running up, like my young horses are running up. Like, what are you guys doing in the sled with the dogs? And just laughing our asses off. I'm in my Carhartts, from the legs, from foot to head. It was so cold. So with snow, I would go bounding. We have other videos where it was so high, it was up to the bellies, and we're just walking, riding bareback, and Smokey's loose like he always would be, like a dog. So Smokes is going through. And so I always give a big bucket on Christmas of assorted carrots and apples and mints. And of course I decorate, and I have Christmas music playing from Thanksgiving on the radio station. It plays 24/7, the day of Thanksgiving till after Christmas. So that plays in my barns, just whatever you can think of. Christmassy. Yeah. I mean, we used to take pictures and have them dressed up with the antlers, and everything's real quiet.
I'm gonna add something, Dow. Do nothing and nothing gets left undone.
Yes, thank you, Lydia. I love that. This year, for the first time, you guys, I was coming back from checking on my mom a couple of weeks ago, and it was a cooler evening, and we were getting a full moon, and I never think of doing this with my crappy phone. And I was coming back, and it was late, like not late, but like 7. It was dark. And I'm coming away from my mom, and you guys know my property, and I'm walking from the concrete barn where the guest house is to my wood barn, because I've got those lights. I always have lights all year, but I have Christmas lights around my feed room door, and then I've got some decorations for Christmas, but they're up all year, the lights. But it looks so pretty, it just caught me. Well, I started taking pictures of it. And so I took a picture of it when I was standing in the little paddock in front of the door, and I hit a filter on my phone. I didn't know what I was doing. And I caught the full moon behind the clouds with the trees over the barn with the lights. And I must have held for too long, so the lights actually light up in the picture for that second. Like you hit the picture and it lights up.
Oh, it's a live photo.
I guess it's a live photo. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But it went black and white behind and color. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, you guys will all see it because it's going to be on my Christmas card. Here, not that. So here's one of them.
Oh, that's really
I'll show you guys. Hold on for a second. Hold on, Becky. Wait, not that one. Oh, this is so pretty. Here's the black and white. Look at that. There's the filter.
Gorgeous.
So that's the filter. You guys can't see it real well, but because this is the black and white.
Yeah.
The lights look horrible here, but it's just so pretty when you can't see it well right now, but the wreath and the lights and the black and white stormy clouds. Let me get to the picture. Okay, here it is. So just wait, watch. Pretty. Can you see the lights like go on and off? But anyway, I just took a bunch of pictures, and I was in the moment. I'm not always in the moment, right? So that was fun. But I'll have a picture. That'll be my Christmas picture.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, just capturing a moment, slowing down. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I get to work with Becky's horse, Clint, next, my first time. So hopefully we'll
must be
film a
fun.
little bit.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah. All right. Merry Christmas. Love to all. Have a blessed, safe, joyous Christmas, everyone. Love you all, and we'll see you in the new. I mean, we'll still be engaged, but we'll see you back in the new year in January. Okay. Thank you, Lydia. Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, hon.